Howdy guys, today we're going to be talking about what books we believe deserve to have adaptations. I'm going to go first. I'm going to give you guys Lost Stars, Star Wars Lost Stars by Claudia Gray. This was a book that came out leading up to The Force Awakens, so after they had gotten rid of a lot of existing canon, which did piss off a lot of people, not me. I wasn't that deep into the Star Wars canon at the time, but this was an amazing time to be alive, and we got this book. Okay, this book follows two friends that grew, two childhood friends. The Empire comes to their planet. So this is where the fork in the road happens. One friend ends up joining the Empire as a TIE fighter pilot, and the other joins the Rebel Alliance as an X-Wing pilot. And from there, I believe that Joseph Kosinski would do a great job adapting this movie. He's directed Top Gun Maverick, F1, Fetching Tron Legacy that I just found out 5 minutes before filming this. I don't know how I didn't know that, but that movie's a banger. F1's a banger. Top Gun Maverick is like top 5 movies of all time banger. And especially the freaking jet flying scenes in that movie. Can you imagine having somebody who knows how to shoot cockpit scenes and actual fighting scenes filming a Star Wars movie? That'd be great. I'm also thinking Nicholas Hoult as one of the main characters. I think he's a safe pick. I think that's going to get some people in the seats. And the other person I'm thinking would be Naomi Scott. You guys might know her from Smile 2. She's been in some other stuff too, but I think they would play the leads very well. And yeah, with that, we're going to get into our list, and I'll pass it off to the next person.
For my first book, I know we've had multiple adaptations of Halo. We've had multiple live actions. We even have a current live action Halo series. Here is the issue. Microsoft has been doing this thing where they've been avoiding this particular book series. They've been avoiding Fall of Reach, The Flood, First Strike, The Ghost of Onyx. I truly believe if you got this book and either made it a series that was made through Amazon, or if you made it through HBO Max, had Danny Delveuve, or even like J.J. Abrams making something like this, or I'll even take the people who made The Reacher. Something like this will be something phenomenal for fans, and we want an actual book adaptation of the Halo series. And with that, we'll go to the next person.
Okay. So for my first book, I have The Alloy of Law, which is the first book in the second series of the Mistborn saga. And this book has some of the best characters that Brandon Sanderson's ever written. I love Wax, I love Wayne, I love all of the villains even are entertaining. And it takes you from this world that you are wondering, how did everything go down after like hundreds of years down the road? This book picks up hundreds of years down the road after they've developed into a more stable civilization. It's got a Western theme to it, and it's just a fun movie. And I think somebody like Rian Johnson could really knock it out of the park with this book. And that's all for me. I'll pass it off to the next person.
For my first pick, it's going to be out of order. So we have the first Law series, and for the first pick, we're not going to go with the first 3 books of the series. And we're not going to go with the 3 standalones. We're starting off with the second trilogy, A Little Hatred. And the reason why I'm starting here is because you have a younger cast of characters, and I think that this would lean better towards, the younger audience, and you can grow with it. So instead of starting off old and wizened characters, you're starting off younger. This takes place kind of at the beginning of an industrial revolution, and it takes cues from the French Revolution, so you get a lot of politics and a lot of morally gray characters, and that's the thing that Joe Abercrombie does so well, is these morally gray characters. You have a hard time nailing anybody down if they're good or bad, and I think that's the beauty of A Little Hatred, because compared to the first 3 books and the 3 standalones, the characters in this book, you have some that you can root for. You have some that are good, and you have some that are clearly bad. And it's just, you need a director. And if I'm thinking, I'm going, I think I'm choosing movies for this one. And I think for a first Law series, you need somebody who can nail tone. You can nail the environment. You can nail the vibe of this grimy, disgusting world that these people live in. And for that reason, And I'm not going with a British director. I'm going with an American director. And hear me out on this. I'm going Robert Eggers for director of The First Law, A Little Hatred. Why? Because he can nail the grimy, disgusting nature. We've seen him get into environments. We've seen him do so well setting up the setting of these movies that he's directed. And I think he's got that sense of humor that Joe Abercrombie has that he could also nail down in an adaptation. You know, you do have older characters coming into this series, and so my fix for that, if we go back and we make the original trilogy later, you could just recast some young dudes and say, hey, this is your, I mean, I don't want to spoil it, who lives, who dies, but you do have characters, and you could just say these are those characters. They're younger versions. So for that, that's my very first pick. We're going A Little Hatred, Joe Abercrombie. With that, I'm passing on to the next person.
I have a little bit of a rant I want to do. We've seen all these movies, Ender Game. We've seen so many different adaptations throughout movie history. You son of... Here is my rant. You have certain movies and certain books that are phenomenal, and you have all these other adaptations of video game to TV show like Last of Us. If you actually use, and Hollywood executives or whoever decides to use crap, you have a freaking script. Use it. You have a book, you have a character, you have all these things. You need to make it as close to the freaking book as possible, please and thank you. Okay, for my second book. Now, here's another problem. Disney, listen to me. Use the books that you are making. Books like all the Thrawns. You have 6 book Thrawns. Get rid of even the legends, but you have 6 books. Use them, please. Thrawn would be one of the greatest adaptations for Star Wars. You have the Rise of the Empire. You have before, you even have Clone Wars. You have when Thrawn and Anakin correlate together, and then eventually in book 5, it's both Anakin and Vader flipping back and forth during the story. I believe that John should help create this story, and it should be an adaptation of all 6 books, and you make a animation series of this like Clone Wars. I believe if you do this, that Star Wars fans would be absolutely just happy, and I believe you would make this would be one of the best adaptations you can make currently with Star Wars. On to the next one.
All right, my next book is Will of the Many. This book is one of the most well-rounded books that I've read in a while. It's got great characters, it's got a great world set up, it's got a great whole system of law built around it. It's intriguing, it keeps you wanting to read, it keeps you on the edge of your seat. This would translate so well to the big screen, and I think if I wanted it done the way I would want to do it, it would definitely be along the lines of how Dune is done. I think Denis Villeneuve would be a great choice to direct a Will of the Many book to movie. I think that would be a great choice. My brain kind of goes to Matt Reeves. I would love to see that as well. Matt Reeves would, I think, capture the darkness of this series pretty well. But overall, I would love to see this adapted, and I think eventually we will get this. Passing it off to the next person.
My next pick, I'm going Red Rising. And Red Rising, this is a story of a guy that's on Mars, starts at the bottom. It's a caste system of different colors, and at the top you have gold, and at the bottom you have the reds. And this red is forced into this scenario where he essentially rises, Red Rising, he becomes a gold, and he is supposed to hide his identity, and he goes through, it's sort of a Hunger Games-esque story. It starts off that way, and then it becomes this epic, Game of Thrones, no less. A Game of Thrones, a game of politics, and it just becomes this epic sci-fi story. And I think it's one of the best sci-fi series, if not the best sci-fi series that's currently being written. And I've gone back and forth on this. Do we go movie? Do we go TV show with Red Rising? And just because of the idea of an Iron Rain alone, I'm going with a movie. I need to see an Iron Rain happen on the big screen, because the idea of these soldiers shooting down from space, all of them at once, and becoming an Iron Rain, and that's how they win the battle, just is so badass, and I just want to see that on the big screen. Now, who am I picking for Red Rising? This is the question, and I've given a lot of thought about this. Now, I have not seen Project Hail Mary. Haven't seen it. Have not seen Project Hail Mary. If I had seen Project Hail Mary, I may choose Phil Lord and Chris Miller, because what Lord and Miller do so well together is they nail whatever world that they're in. Be it the Lego movie, be it 21 Jump Street, be it the freaking Spider-Verse movies, the worlds that they create are just next level. They're all great. And I haven't seen Project Hail Mary, but if I've seen Project Hail Mary, I would probably tell you that the world in Project Hail Mary feels real, it feels lived in. And that's what we need with Red Rising, okay? And that's why I think Phil Lord and Chris Miller would be just incredible picks to launch us off with Red Rising. Do I think they need to direct the whole trilogy, the next 4 books? I don't know. All I know is that for the first movie, for the first Red Rising, that's who I'm going with. And I'm handing off to the next person.
Okay, for my third book, Rangers Apprentice. This is a book that I grew up with. There are 13 of these books. Now, Bryce Dallas Howard has made some of the best episodes of The Mandalorian, at least in my personal opinion. I personally believe if you had her direct this entire series for like a nice teen, adult-ish teen kind of series, you would have this wonderful upbringing of like a new generation. This is what you would do. This would be one of the best adaptations for a TV series that you can use for a long time. There's a lot of source material. There's a lot of ways you can make this phenomenal. And I believe she would do a phenomenal job doing it because of every episode she does. I feel like she would do such an amazing job with this particular book. And for that, we're going to the next person.
For my last book, I'm going to say The Sword of Kaigen. The Sword of Kaigen has one of the most captivating settings of any book that I've read. I love how the characters really feel like they are living these lives. It's not just some 2D story that's being set up. And it's got a lot of really quiet moments, too, in it that I love. The characters are just there to think and to be there. And it crescendos in the most epic battle. And I honestly think for this one, in order to capture its full spirit, you'd need to do it animated. And I think Mamoru Hosoda would do a great job at that. So with Sword of Kaigen, I would love to see kind of an epic like Mamoru Hosoda does around the Sword of Kaigen. And that's all for me. I'll pass it off to the next person.
For my next pick, I'm going with my favorite book of all time. I'm going with what I believe to be the greatest book ever written on planet Earth. Not even sure it was written by an actual human. I think it is just, it sets up everything so beautifully. It's the best fantasy story of all time. I'm going with The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. Now, it took me a long time to get into this book. It took me a long time to believe anybody that this behemoth, this 1,000-page monster would be worth my time. And it is. Kaladin, Dalinar, Shallan, these 3 characters are your leads of this book. And their stories that they go through are all in their own right dealing with emotions. It's not a chosen one scenario. It's not like Lord of the Rings. It's not like the Wheel of Time. It's just these characters who are in a world, and it eventually does kind of become that. But for the first book, it's about Kaladin, it's about Dalinar, it's about Shallan. And now who am I choosing to direct this? This is a book that needs to be done perfectly. I need everything set up in a way that is, I can't complain for the rest of my life. Nothing is going to be perfect. I understand that. But when I'm thinking about The Way of Kings, I'm thinking about who can set it up, who can tee this book up. Oh, by the way, I'm going with a series for this one. Who can tee up this series to let everybody else that comes forward in the Cosmere, who directs a Cosmere-oriented movie or TV show, who can set this up in a way that everybody else can follow, that he tees it all up for you perfectly. And for that, I'm going with, and this is a weird pick, and I need you to follow me here. I'm going with Wes Ball, okay? Now, Wes Ball directed, he directed another book adaptation. I don't know if it's that beloved, but he did direct. Jay, are you laughing at me over there? Hear me out, because I'm about to make a really good argument. Okay. He directed the Maze Runner trilogy. Now you're thinking, Oz, if this is your favorite book of all time, why would you want the guy that directed the Maze Runner to direct this movie? The Planet of the Apes movies, they're some of my favorite movies of all time. Matt Reeves directed 2 of my favorite of those Apes movies. And I thought to myself, man, nobody's going to follow up Matt Reeves. Nobody's going to make a better Apes movie than Matt Reeves. And while I don't think that Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is better than Dawn or War for the Planet of the Apes, I believe that Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes set up everything we need to. It made me care about these new characters, these new apes. And another thing is The Way of Kings. You're gonna need a lot of freaking CGI. You're gonna need somebody who understands how to use CGI, because we have Spren. We have these little beings that come up whenever you feel an emotion. How do you do that without CGI? You need somebody who knows CGI. James Cameron's going to be doing Avatar movies until he's 100 years old, okay? So we're not going to be getting James Cameron to direct a Way of Kings movie. But we do have Wes Ball, okay? And I need everybody to hear me out on this. Wes Ball understands how to use CGI. If you look at the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes movie, by far the best looking movie to come out since an Avatar movie. It's great. It's all shot on a freaking soundstage, okay? And it looks amazing. And he teed up the world. There are factions that I still remember from Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes that are set up in that movie that you need. You need set up perfectly. And that's why I think Wes Ball can handle A Way of Kings. Direct the first season of The Way of Kings. Now, that's where I get in a little more heavy with where do I start with The Way of Kings. I think we cut out Shallan's story for the first season. I think The Way of Kings, we just remove Shallan's story entirely and we focus on Caladan and Dalinar. And when we get into Words of Radiance, that's when we get into Shallan's story. But for the beginning, I think that's where most of our action happens. I think that's where you hook people. I think you lose people with Shallan. I love Shallan as a character, but you're going to lose a lot of people with that. So the movie or the series, we start there. We get it directed by Wes Ball. Season 1 is the entirety of The Way of Kings. I think maybe 13, 14 episodes would be enough, hour-long episodes. I think you can tell a great story. And with that, I'm handing it off to the next person.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is the list of books that we believe deserve an adaptation, movie and TV show alike. Let us know down below if you agree or disagree with us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. Peace! Wait. Who said Onyx Storm?
Me!
Bro, this is smut.
It's part smut, thank you.
Bro!